Okay. All right. So this is part two. Oh my God. This is part two of Sargon going damn near 14 words. We stopped right after he basically was making the same fucking argument, just very cleverly wording it. So he doesn't sound quite so bad. Not quite so bad. And this is we're picking this up where Molyneux was actually kind of like deflecting away from the point. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see if Carl, because you have to understand, I've known Carl for a long time. When he gets an idea in his head, even if it like starts drifting to a place that it really shouldn't, he'll aggressively try and keep pursuing it. So he might, with shovel in hand, try and see how deep he can get with this shit. I should probably be on the right page. Here we go.
And plus 10 happiness, right? So let's say that a woman is 30, right? And you can gently remind her that she might want to think about having kids because, getting into your 30s, man, it can be a pretty long bowling alley to knock down those pins, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So,
Or you could not do that. And I don't know what that analogy is supposed to be about. What is that metaphor? No, metaphor. Yeah. What is that metaphor supposed to mean? Having less eggs in your ovaries does not mean you have less of a chance of getting impregnated. You only release one egg a cycle. What kind of idiots? I swear to God, I'm going to choke on my taquito. This is so fucking dumb.
you might want to think about it sooner rather than later. And so what happens is, if the woman is unhappy, then you could, of course, make the case, okay, well, one of the reasons why you're unhappy is, we're kind of designed to have kids. Like, we kind of are, because
Or you could not do that and not be a total fucking prick.
that's the only reason we're all here, is going back 150,000 years or 4 billion years if you want to go to single-celled organisms. We've been having this reproductive race and racing to the top of the food chain and all of that. So, we're really designed, you and I are just vehicles for our DNA to get to the next generation. We're just, we're like stones on a pond that they just use to cross over to the next generation. So if you're not going to have kids, you're kind of going against what we're built for. And again, people can go against what they're built for. We have free will, and that's perfectly valid. But so if the woman is really unhappy, she's like minus 10 or something, then you can say, well, maybe one of the reasons you're unhappy is you're not having kids, you're not enjoying the creation of new life and the nurturing of a new generation and the beautiful thing that is parenthood and all that. So, that's a possibility. But whenever you point that out, you know what the women say? They say, wait a minute, man, I'm super happy. I'm plus 10 and I don't have kids, right? And that's what you generally get. I'm living my best life. It's a perfect life. I couldn't be happier and so on.
And then you see
But
their
there's
Twitter
another.
bio and it says depression in it.
Well, yeah, but even if they genuinely believe that they're happy, like there was this sad-faced woman holding up a sign saying, I'm 30, I'm unmarried, I'm childless, and that's okay. And it's like, I don't think you need to hold a sign up if something genuinely is okay. You
You
know,
don't even think about it, yeah.
you don't even think about it. But then what you say is, if they're on the plus 10 side, like I'm living my best life, having a great life, it's like, oh, so you really enjoy being alive. You love being alive. And I love being alive. You love being alive. It's a great thing to be alive.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna pause this here to talk about something that I'm actually very well versed in. There's a a brilliant man by the name of Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert is most famous for giving a talk about the science of happiness, the surprising science of happiness, and he actually starts out the talk. I went to one of his live talks of this. It wasn't just like the TED talk that I watched. He actually came to my college and I watched him give the talk live. He starts out the talk very commonly with, all right, show of hands, who here has children? And people stick up their hands. He's like, how many of you think that your children make you happy? Keep your hands up. Most of them keep their hands up. He's like, you're all wrong, because that's not actually a very distinct causal factor of happiness. It just isn't. It isn't. Your kids don't make you happy. You don't have kids to make yourself happy. Nobody has kids so they can be happy. People have kids because they want kids. A lot of times, kids will fulfill something even more deeper than happiness, and that is purpose. These two morons only know how to talk about this in one way because it serves their politics. It doesn't actually have anything to do with science. It doesn't have anything to do with psychology. Because neither of these two fucking morons understand psychology. They also don't understand science. They're complete fucking idiots. The reality of the matter is this. Human beings do not actually gauge their lives through happiness, but through some degree of success or purpose. And that does not have to have anything to do with having kids, childbearing, whatever. In fact, people who adopt children can be just as happy or unhappy as people who had their own genetic spawn. Okay, like it's so hilarious because not only are they factually incorrect, they fundamentally don't even understand what the fuck they're talking about. These are two fucking idiots talking about things that they do not understand.
Especially when you're an atheist and you know the odds of all the matter in the universe coalescing into your couple of pounds of wetware that drives all the joy that you derive out of existence. So you say, so you love being alive, my lady, and you only get to experience that joy because your parents decided to have children. In other words, you have inherited this great gift from the universe called life. And yet you're squandering it on yourself, on your own petty pleasures, on your own petty preferences, and you're not passing it along to the next generation. That to me is appalling. Again, assuming you can. There's lots of people who are infertile and all that, but assuming you can, why would you want to? It's like inherit.
So somebody in the chat says, my parent education class explicated that you should not have a child because you believe it will make you happy. It is extremely selfish and will damage the kid. Uh-huh. Absolutely. That's another argument against what they're fucking saying here. If you want to have a kid to be happy, you're not having a kid to have a kid. You're having a kid for a fashion accessory. Or for a Prozac, a Band-Aid for your own fucking mental instability. No. That's not a good way to look at it either. So again, even like in this aspect, they don't know what they're fucking talking about. Wow, my camera shoots way over out of my frame. That's not right. I'll try not to do that. No, guys, Jesus fucking Christ. No, you're fucking wrong, man. Like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. None of it makes any sense.
Inheriting $1 million from your father who worked 16 hours a day down in the mines to gather that money together.
Down in the mines.
You're like, I'm going to buy a yacht. And it's like, don't squander your inheritance on trivialities, on nothingness, right? And so if you've got this great gift, my gosh, pay it forward as best as you're able to, and it will give you great satisfaction because you get to universalize your joy.
The universe does not give a shit about your happiness. And it's not gonna. The universe doesn't care if you're fucking happy or not. And like, some people probably shouldn't have kids. I'm just going to be honest with you. Some people probably shouldn't have kids because they don't know how to actually take care of them. We have a huge problem with that in the world right now. People who have children and can't take care of them. Huge. If anything, you should be in favor of family planning. That's what you should do.
By creating the life in another that you get to benefit because someone created it in you.
And I think in the case of women going into their 30s, when women tend to get into their 40s, I mean, what are you living for? How much longer can you just be, essentially just indulging your own self-interest? Like, it strikes me that you're going to get quite lonely as the...
I don't know how to say this any better, Carl, but it's none of your fucking business. It's none of your business. It's their choice. It's their own individual choice to do what it is that they want to do. In what world does it make sense that you would have anything to do with their decision about that? Like, what? How? Why? I don't understand this shit.
The years go on because there's a huge spate of unmarried 40-something career women at the moment. You see these articles being written all the time. I'm 42, I'm in shape, I've got an amazing job, and I can't find a boyfriend. Is it Scarlett Johansson? One of the most beautiful women in the world. Can't find a boyfriend. How is this happening? Well, she's 42. She's got, she's adopted children, and no one wants to... And there was an article written about where she was demanding men step up And I was, that is, that's entitlement if I've ever seen it. But that's not going to
Sure,
happen.
men love investing in another man's DNA. That's exactly how men work. It's like, nope,
Yeah.
that's not how men work at all.
No, and
You guys, you guys are actively promoting this idea that women have children, and then it's their duty to have kids, and that men don't have anything in specific that they have to do when it comes to childbearing. You're saying the only duty men has is to go to war, fight, and die for the country, and that women to have babies. None of that has anything to do with raising the children. You're not advocating for people to raise their children. You just want them to have their children. But then again, isn't that the whole long-term right-wing joke that life begins at conception, but it stops mattering after birth? Like, we're gonna make sure that you're absolutely protected all the way up until you come out into the world, and then yeah, well, fuck you, no healthcare. You can kiss my ass. I don't know. Fuck it, whatever, dude. Just keep going, you weirdos.
it's not that you can't find a man who won't. But once you're 42 years old, you're
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Doesn't Carl's wife have Carl's wife has a child from a previous relationship? And he has no problem stepping up and taking care of the kid, which good for him. That's the right thing that you should do. That's awesome. Good. I have nothing ill to say about that at all. But then, like, doesn't that kind of fuck up what they're whatever?
you're a much less attractive prospect at that. And it sounds cruel to say. I'm not the one who made the rules, but these are the rules, and you have to be playing the game according to these rules, because otherwise you're going to find yourself. And I hear this from women all the time. The desire, the longing to have children gets stronger as they age. I mean, maybe in their 20s they can defer this and say, well, no, I've got plenty of time. I'm not worried about this. But once you get to your late 30s, it's
But this is the thing, right?
Is it supposed to be you trying to express like human emotions? You fucking moron, dude. Even women who have had like 12 kids can get, if they haven't gone through menopause in their late 30s, can still have an irresistible urge to just have babies. Having an urge doesn't mean that you have to act on it. Holy fuck. This is so weird. This is so weird. These are two old fucking weirdos just talking about how women need to fucking breed more. What the fuck?
Right, so
Very normal, very
you're
sane.
a gamer as far as I understand it, although maybe we can get into Dungeons & Dragons at some point. But women start off on the super easy level and men start off on the super hard level. And that kind of crosses over, right, around sort of middle age, right? So when you're a young man, unless you're like one of the 1% genetically gifted super hottie dudes or whatever, right? So when you're a young man...
Oh, those super hot dudes. Chads. We hate those chads.
You're just a face in the crowd. You're like some thumbprint background in a Monet painting. You just have to stand out. So you got to go out and carve your way in the world, and you've got to develop your skills and your income and your charisma and your...
You know what the difference between these guys and fucking incels are? Incels don't have a choice. They develop, really fucking weird ideas about women and relationships, largely in part because they just don't feel any kind of like love and compassion, oftentimes leading them to feeling very, very strong resentment. And in that way, as much as like some people might not necessarily share this feeling that I do, I have quite a degree of compassion for incels. I really do. Because it can be hard, especially in a society that values things in the way that we do. But at least they have an excuse. This is the same dog shit from people who have partners, who have wives. These guys have wives, and they're still talking like fucking incels. My friendos who are sex challenged, look upon the horror that is that you can still be falling into this bizarre mindset and have a relationship. Maybe step away. I'm just, man.
Courage, and it's really, really hard. Just look at the imbalance in high school, like how hard it is to go up and ask the girl out, that you want to go out with you, whereas the girl's just sitting there and she can choose from, if she's reasonably attractive, she can choose from just a wide variety of men. So women start off with men kowtowing to them and bowing to them and begging for their attention. And, that's a big power. And it's not really supposed to last that long because historically, a woman hits 18, she's supposed to be married within a year or two. So this picky choosy stuff,
Ew, why?
where you're the center of attention and you step out of your bed like Venus on the clamshell and stride across the world with everybody trailing after you with, flowers and chocolates and gift certificates. That's supposed to be a pretty short-lived affair. But for women, of course, they're dragging it on. They're dragging it out into their 20s, into their 30s, and then boom, like it literally can be overnight. This kind of situation. Like it happened to my mom when she was 40. She just couldn't get out of bed. And so what happens is suddenly it's like, boom, from all of this male gaze, oh, it's so terrifying. Men want me so much. It's so bad. Like it all just vanishes because men are like, hey, the whole point is kids, man. The whole reason we have these hormones, the whole reason we have
No. Maybe the whole point is kids for you. Maybe. What is he talking about? Dude, he's Stefan Molyneux. If Stefan Molyneux had a dick growing out of the front of his head, he would furiously be jacking it off all the fucking time while he talked. He would, 100%, because he thinks he is very fucking smart. Very, very, very fucking smart. And he's spouted off this weird, like, MGTOW incel fucking ideology for a long time. And I don't think he actually functionally understands what it's like to be a young man. I don't think he has any concept or basis for fundamentally understanding the dynamics between like men and women and them trying to date. I mean, for fuck's sake, the dude actually fundamentally thinks that there should be an expectation that women immediately start to pumping out babies a couple years after they're 18. If not for the actual age of consent laws, because of this deep libertarian philosopher mindset that he has, I'm pretty sure he would lower that age to a whole lot lower. But, I'm just spitballing here.
The dangly bits and the desires is for kids. And once you can't give us kids anymore and we're reasonably successful, we'll just go for the younger model who can. And that is a deep shock for women. And then it's too late. If a man screws up in his early 20s, he's got time to fix it. But if a woman doesn't have kids by the time she's 40, man, it's game over for the next 40, 50 years. And that's a horrible thing. And I just want to send a message back from the post-half century that it's pretty ugly out here for the women who haven't, so they can make a better choice.
There are some really great real-world examples of this as well. They're perfect ones. The male gaze...
Really? Because I was pretty sure this is all a bunch of made-up bullshit, dude. But hit me with it. Hit me with it, Carl. Let's go.
One is like the feminists might complain about it all they want, but women, I think, rely on this and expect this and feel entitled to this in many ways.
Oh.
There's a feminist author called Jessica Valenti. She writes for The Guardian, and in 2014 she wrote an article called I can't remember the title of it exactly, but it was a complaint about catcalling. She was being catcalled a lot. And then 5 years later, she wrote an article saying how she missed being catcalled. Because in that 5-year span, and I think it was between like 30 and 35 for her, that was it. The male attention just dropped off. And again,
look, I really don't know how to put this any more delicately, but the older you get, the more you miss the things that happened before you got old. That happens to literally everybody. Children who have to start going through puberty pine for the days where they didn't have to worry about such things as relationships and they could spend all day playing in the sun. Young adults that now have to enter the workforce pine for the days where they could be back in high school, even with all of the pain and drama of trying to get through high school. People in their 30s miss the carefree times of their 20s. People in their 40s miss how actually the 30s were pretty much better than the 20s. Holy shit, now that I think about it. That's how it works, dude. That's how it works. Everybody has regrets. Everybody pines for it. Nobody's like, now that I'm at such and such age, I'm perfectly fine with everything. You might still be happy. You might be fine. You might be accepting the way your life has developed. But you're always going to pine for the days of past. Everybody does. It's not some weird psychological phenomenon that only happens to women when they just didn't fulfill the the need and desires to breed. Sorry, no.
Again, like with Scarlett Johansson, the OkCupid, I think it was, found that men tend to message, regardless of the age of the man, they tend to message 22-year-old women. That seems to be the peak age of attractiveness for
Not
men.
me, you.
Whereas women tend to message men around their own age. So, the
Nope.
scale continues going up.
That's not really true
And
either.
so you can understand Scarlett Johansson's entitlement, can't you? When, like, one of the most beautiful women in the world, she spent her 20s being rich and famous and desired by every man on the planet.
Uh-huh.
And then she gets to her 40s and she's demanding men to step. Where is this male attention gone? Well, time has moved on. And
Okay, I don't know how. Oh my god. Okay, it's really weird how obsessed with celebrities these two are. Like, first it's Molyneux, who in between polishing his bald head with dog cum is constantly talking about how Taylor Swift has wasted her genetic potential by not having children, to now Carl obsessed with Scarlett Johansson. Carl, I don't know how to explain this to you any clearer, but Scarlett Johansson could fuck anybody. She could fuck anybody. It doesn't matter. If she walked up to you and said, "Hey, let's fuck," you would do it. You would. You would. I mean, okay, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. You kind of lost your fucking mind lately. But anybody would. She has no problems getting laid. This idea that you're trying to make it that, like, she can't get somebody to give her dick? What? First of all, is weird. Second of all, makes no sense. It's Scarlett Johansson. She's beautiful. The problem that Scarlett Johansson is probably facing is the fact that she's a celebrity. She has a very different life that most people, I don't think, could handle it. Isn't that much more likely? Or is it more likely that Scarlett Johansson she's just the same as every other woman out there with, adopted children, single parent, working, like, like, I don't even know how he can say this with a straight face unless he is actually this fucking crazy at this point. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
and you are not the same. Things have changed, and unfortunately, you made the wrong decisions. It might have been very nice in your 20s to...
Wait. Later, Carl Gahn said he meant Charlize Theron and got them mixed up. Later in this one, he says it's Charlize Theron. I mean, that's the same fucking situation, dude. Same situation. Like, okay, like, let's theorize this for a second, okay? Fellas, if you are interested, there's this beautiful woman, and she really likes you, and you guys really click. But the thing is, she's going to be gone most of the time. She's going to be off in exotic locations, shooting with some of the most beautiful people on the planet, attending the most luxurious dinners and shit, and you're not always going to be able to go with her. Oftentimes, you're going to have your own thing going on, or you have to give up everything else that's going on in your life. Everything that you actually you're really dedicated to, that you have a passion for. If it can't fit in a suitcase so it can travel with you and her, it gets left behind. Like, how many of us can actually commit to a life like that? Probably not many. I mean, this is something that we've heard about from many different celebrities over the years. It's hard to date and have a developing relationship when you make movies. It's rough. There's a reason why Rick Moranis, when his wife died, he quit. He retired from movies, and he went and he raised his children. Because there's no way he could have raised his kids. No way. So, I mean, I really, really, really don't understand how... Oh, it was after the video he said that he got it mixed up and it was Charlize Theron. Still, it doesn't make any difference, dude. This doesn't make any sense at all. These are much more likely scenarios.
Been on top of the pile, but now you're not. There are other women in their 20s now. Sorry.
Well, it's this terrible flip, too, that happens, Carl, where a woman who's attractive can have her pick of men, obviously when she's young. And I've had a couple of women on my call-in show complaining about this. And what happens is they get into their 40s. Now, maybe they can get a couple of young cougar-holics who want to try them on for training wheels or whatever, but they can't get settled down.
Ew.
And so what happens is they kind of have this weird flip that happens in their 40s where they can only get guys in their like late 50s and early 60s. Like guys on their second or third divorce round or whatever.
What?
And I remember this woman who was saying like, oh yeah, I used to I used to date guys we could go rollerblading, and now I'm dating a guy who has trouble getting down the stairs. And that's a weird flip, and it's very humiliating for women who are used to that kind of attention. And now they kind of got to hang like a flapping winged Nazgul over some guy waiting to inherit a house after he dies. And it's really, really tough. And no one's telling women about this. You know, I mean, I did a whole course in university on 19th century novels, and 19th century novels were all around, hey, don't waste your youth. Make sure you settle down with a good man, and don't choose style over substance. Don't choose some, good-looking rake with money over a reliable guy who's going to stick around. It was.
Do you know why? Because they had really, really bad mortality rates. You need to start back then. You needed to start having children right away because a lot of them are going to die, and you need to be able to replace them. Like, it was a survival trait. You fucking moron. I wonder why we're doing things differently today than we did 200 years ago. It's a mystery to me. I can't figure it out. Strange.
It's just reminding women that this bloom of rose, this flush of attention, this giddy excitement of having all of this attention, it's not going to last. And reminding them of all of that. And yeah, I guess, does it scare women who think they might have made a bad decision? I guess so. But does that mean we should never tell smokers about lung cancer because they're going to feel bad for smoking? That was never a rule when I was a kid.
I mean, honestly, it does seem that on a cultural level that we are lying to women in general. I know this is a silly...
We should be telling them that they need to have children as much as possible to save the West.
Silly example to bring up, but I saw a Reddit post the other day that was a young woman who was messing around with her boyfriend, and she got him in a headlock, and she said to him, and he was pretending that he couldn't get out, and she said to him, no, come on, let's have a proper fight. And so he just took her arm and just took it off him. It was nothing. And her comment was, I couldn't believe how strong he was. I couldn't believe that he could just take this off me. And I'm just thinking, well, this is the result of Hollywood brainwashing, surely. Where she's watched these films where 100...
I know plenty of women that could kick the shit out of Carl. 100%. 100%. My friend Amanda is a wildlife firefighter, and she'd break you in half, bro. Like, I mean, yeah, if you want to go by averages, sure, fine, whatever, sure. But at the same time, like, I don't understand. I don't even understand. And then the whole plane clapped. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand what this little tidbit, this little analogy is really supposed to prove. Women are brainwashed into thinking they're just as strong as men. No, women are told that if they try and work hard, that they can achieve just as much as any man can. And that's a good lesson that we should teach people, because we don't want to teach people, well, know your fucking limits. You should settle, sit down, have children, shut the fuck up, breed more white children, save the white race, fuck you. No, dude, we don't say that, because that's gross. And that's wrong. And if we have strong women, we have a stronger society. Simple as that. Like, but that's the thing, though. Like, I'm not trying to put things into these guys' fucking mouths and whatnot, but you have to start trying to listen to this with a lens of deciphering what exactly are they trying to imply that they're not saying necessarily. Now, we can't make definitive claims that they are, but we can kind of intuit some stuff. And there's a lot of disdain towards women coming off of these two weirdos.
120-pound woman beats up a room full of 5 men.
More Sargon than Molyneux, and that's actually quite an accomplishment, by the way.
And then carries on to do whatever else it is. And for some reason, she has internalized the idea that, well, there's no difference between men and women, is there? It's like, no, there really is. I mean, there's a reason that we don't make films about men who can just kill, rooms full of people. And if we do, there's something, super heroic about them, because that's just not realistic,
What the fuck did he just say? What the fuck? What the fuck did he just say?
The idea that, well, there's no difference between men and women, is there? It's like, no, there really is. I mean, there's a reason that we don't make films about men who can just kill, rooms full of people. And if we do, there's something, super heroic about them, because that's just not realistic,
We make movies like that all the time because they're fun and they're entertaining. I mean, fucking John Wick, The Matrix, other Keanu movies. Wolverine. I mean, fucking what? What do you? What? Yes, of course we do. Rambo, Transporter. Yeah, yeah. Any Jason Statham movie. Yeah, 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 yeah. What the fuck did you just say?
And I think this is something I think I think a lot of young men.
Unless he was saying that like we don't make that about women, but we do that about women too. There are fucking badass women all over the fucking place. In fact, Charlize Theron. In what was it? There's a new Netflix movie that she was in. She fucking just slaughters people like crazy. The Old Guard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was okay, by the way. That's my 10-second review of The Old Guard. It was okay.
And in fact, young women, and not just young
Kill
women,
Bill,
like,
Electra,
women
yeah.
generally think about this. And like you were saying, no one gives men anything for free. You know, no one gives anything
Okay.
to men. Young men are not desirable. Young men are disposable. You know, and it's something.
According to who? Who are you fucking talking about? Holy shit.
That you have to build on yourself. So, like you say, a young man can mess up in his 20s, but rebuild and learn from the experience and change himself in order to improve. But if you're a woman and you've started at the peak of your physical abilities, which in a woman's case is generally attractiveness, then why would you think that you're going to have to improve at some point in the future?
Men can improve if they start off with low in abilities and things. We're not talking about attractiveness with men, but like abilities. But then when we talk about women and their abilities, we're talking about how fuckable they are. What the fuck, dude? Like, okay, and we're gonna rewind that so I'm not misquoting them. I'm gonna make sure. But like, I need you guys to understand something. When I was friends with this fucking weirdo, he wasn't like this, and we used to make fun of people that said shit like this. Because that was like if somebody would kind of make like a derisive statement, we'd be like, "Oh, well, what do you think?" And we would say hyperbolically like, "Oh, do you think blah 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 blah?" Like that was the joke, is that nobody actually thought that way. Nobody was actually that fucking dumb. But listen to this. Like, this is fucking crazy, dude.
Self in order to improve. But if you're a woman and you've started at the peak of your physical abilities, which in a woman's case is generally attractiveness, then why would you think that you're going to have to improve at some point in the future? And so I for a lot of young men...
Because the only real value a woman has is in her attractiveness. Again, this is the kind of shit that we would say that nobody believes, because that is absolutely ridiculous, and nobody actually believes that. Nobody's that much of a fucking dumbass, and like, what the fuck, dude? You're literally saying the thing that was the joke, that we made fun of. You are now the thing that we made fun of, that we held up as like the ridiculous. I don't even know what the fuck what you would call it. It was just the most extreme example that nobody could ever actually be. You're being that guy. What the fuck?
And I realize it's quite disheartening because they feel worthless in their 20s. They feel that no one cares about them. And honestly, it's because society generally doesn't, you know, but there is a benefit to not being given things for free, and that's self-improvement. You do become better at the things you do. You do have to work on yourself. It's tough, but at least you get something out of it in the long run. And I think that we need to start explaining to women that this is the dynamic, whether you like it or not.
Oh, that's going to go over real good. Sit down, ladies. Huddle up. Come on. Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. You all need to understand something now. As you're approaching your mid-20s, you are missing out on your peak levels, that you'll never be better again. I'm going to need you to get out there, and I'm going to need you to start breeding like a motherfucker. Find yourself a good Christian white man to have babies with, to save our country. I'm going to need you to take one for the team. Yeah, that's going to go over real fucking good, dude. Real good.
Well, and with regards to not having kids, women are pretty much directly bribed to not have children as a whole, right? So if you look at sort of the free market as a whole, men, you know, depending on how you measure it, so men have significantly more value in the free market when they're young because, men are pretty tireless workers. Men aren't going to interrupt their careers to have children and breastfeed and maybe come back and maybe not come back and so on.
Oh boy.
And so before all of this equal pay for work of equal value, which is just some made up metric that's designed to bribe women into not having kids, and before diversity initiatives and all that kind of stuff, a lot of hiring managers were like, you're a young man. I've got a choice between a young man and a young woman. Okay, the young man, if he starts a family, man, he's going to be working here like crazy.
So, well, first of all, most young men have shit work ethics. I know because I was a young man and I had a shit work ethic until I developed a good work ethic. Strangely enough, many young men, even men that come from good homes, don't necessarily have a very good work ethic. That's something that's usually instilled within them because of the family. But here's the thing. If you guys are so dead set and determined that that women need to do their part for the country, why don't you pay them then? If they're doing all this work to breed, to make more people, to keep the country going with more babies, which is a very strange way to consider children as fuel for a fucking country. That's really weird. Really creepy, guys. Why don't you pay them? Maybe you should do that. Why don't you do that? Why don't you pay women for having kids? Why don't you do that? I mean, is there a fucking problem here? I mean, if they're doing this thing that's an overall benefit to society that you really are touting, and you think that there needs to be more of a push within society to get them to do it more, why don't you pay them? You just expect them to work for free? What kind of a fucking libertarian are you? What the fuck? I'm confused, guys. I'm confused. You guys are over here. Why don't you pay women? Pay them. If they're gonna have the babies that are gonna keep your precious fucking civilization going, pay them.
Because he's got a family to support, so he's gonna be digging in and working. But if it's a young woman and she decides to have a family, man, she's gone, right? And she's probably not coming back, because this is back to the day, in the post-war baby boom, right? I guess everyone thinks you and I are part of, though. That's quite unfair. But, you're having 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, a family. Well, you can't have a career and raise 5 children. Like, you just can't, fundamentally, at least until they're older. And so what happened was, in order to lure women into the workplace, which the government wanted to do, I mean, a couple of things had to happen. Of course, you had to have all of this propaganda. And this sounds all kinds of tinfoil hatted, but it did.
Yeah.
A lot of this money came out of the CIA. And it came out of
Okay.
the left. It came out of communism, because communism has always had the thirst to destroy the family. And so you had a lot of...
Yeah, comrade. Yeah, the main thing we want to do is we have to destroy the family. We have to tear down the Western imperialist concept of procreation. We've got to tear it down.
What the fuck? What in the fucking world are you talking about? It's a CIA funded communist plot to get. You know what? With all the other crazy, like, borderline fucking eugenics Nazi shit that we've already listened to in this stream, at least he's not saying it's the Jews, okay? At least we're not there. At least there's no JQ thing going on, because if so, like, we would hit the fucking right-wing extremist bingo right now. What the fuck?
the leftist communist feminists who were saying, oh, you got to get out in the workforce, and raising children is drudgery. And it's like, no. Jobs are drudgery. Raising children is glorious fun.
Yeah.
But so a lot.
You have a kid. Shut up. No.
Before we move on from that point, because I know that people are going to say, well, that's conspiracy theory nonsense. No, it's not. I mean, you can name the people involved, so we can show that this isn't a conspiracy theory.
Oh.
For example, Gloria Steinem was a CIA asset, one of the world's most famous feminists. In the 70s, you can go back and watch adverts. I have watched these adverts, where the advert is a very attractive woman, and literally the premise is you can have it all. You can have the family, you can have the career, you can have the domestic bliss.
Why would this... Okay, first of all, Gloria Steinem being a CIA asset, does that necessarily have anything to do with this? I don't know. But can we just ask the question, Why would the CIA want to stop Americans from having babies? Why would the Central Intelligence Agency that's involved in the intelligence dissemination and curation of spy networks all around the world, involved in defending us from foreign influence, why would they team up with the Russians, the communists, or something to destroy the family? Why?
You can have everything. Women can do all of this. Now, I would never say this to a man. You can't have it all. Pick one thing and try and get that. And if you're lucky, you'll get it. If you work hard enough, you'll get it. You will not get everything. You probably won't even get that. But you might get something and it might be all right. But this was...
What a fucking awful nihilistic way to look at the world. Dude, nobody listen to this guy. He's a fucking idiot.
And it was the propaganda. You could see these... like the Edward Bernays style propaganda shorts and adverts. This was an active campaign from people who are communists who were connected to the CIA. So this, we can name the people, we can name the dates, we can show you the adverts, the newspaper articles, newspaper clippings. These things all exist. This is not a conspiracy theory.
Yes, it is a conspiracy theory. 100% it's a conspiracy theory. The concept that women's liberation is all like a giant communist CIA plot. 1, makes no sense. 2, I don't really give a shit. You can show me these things. Sure, go ahead. Please, by all means, make another fucking stupid-ass video on your shitty little dying channel about all of the resources you have to show that there's a giant feminist conspiracy plot. I really want you to do that. I really want you to do that because I know that you're going to watch this, Carl. You can't help yourself. If there's one thing that pisses you off, it's your former friends disrespecting you. I know it just drives you fucking crazy, and that's why I'm doing it. Yes, please make that fucking video. I want to see how well received that video is. I will. Oh my fucking God! Please do it. Please just fucking do it. Ugh.
This is just something that happened. Sorry, do go on. I just wanted to nail that down because I know what people are going to say, and you're
that's
correct.
perfectly fine.
You're
In general, everything to do with communism appears as a conspiracy theory because communists are never going to tell you about it. So, the Holodomor, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's really, really not. I mean, and so what happened was, okay, how do you lure women out into the workforce? Because a lot of men don't want to hire them, right? Well, what you do is you say, well, not hiring a woman is sexist. And then you start passing laws that force women to get equal or greater pay or benefits. And then what happens is you create a huge amount of government departments that hire a lot of women because they don't have the same economic pressures that your average free market entrepreneur is going to have. Okay. And you bribe women by giving them artificially high wages. Yes, I'm going to say it. And this is me saying it, not Carl. So please direct all your venom at the Eggman, not at the Beard Man. But you give women artificially high wages, and of course, people follow incentives, and then you just draw women into the workforce where you get to tax them rather than them having kids. See, governments, it's just math, right? I mean, yes, there's hatred for the West and all that kind of stuff, but fundamentally, if you are a government and you can get women to stop having children and start working, well, your costs as a government goes down because children are expensive for government. You have government schools and healthcare and this, that, and the other, right?
So what? Let's say, for example, just for the exercise of this, okay? Let's say that Molyneux is correct and that there is actually a societal push. Let's say that there's a societal push to try and get women more into the workforce and less into raising children, so that they can increase the coffers of tax dollars coming in from women's labor. So what? So fucking what? Who cares? Then they're trying to do that. Well, they're trying to do that by giving women a choice, and the choice itself is a choice to also enter into the same competitive workplace at the same level as a man. That's equal opportunity. Like if we're for anything, It should be for equal opportunity, not necessarily equal outcome, because that should be based on everybody's individual merit. We've been saying this for years, and I still agree to it. I absolutely agree to it, but we should have equal opportunity. So we make this equal opportunity, and then they have the choice. Do you want to do that, or do you want to raise a family? And that is really what it comes down to. There's more freedom. There's more freedom because they now have more opportunity to do whatever it is that they want. But you have a problem with that. And you're trying to rationalize your problem with it by trying to make it into like this big propagandized fucking psyop by the CIA and the fucking communists. Why? It's just their fucking choice, dude.
And then women are not raising children.
When the kids grow up to be taxed too? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even work on their own argument. Their own argument, like, spins around and spits in their face. Like, it doesn't, they don't make any sense.
Which are expensive to governments. They're in fact working, and they are paying taxes to governments, right? So if you want all of this wonderful welfare, warfare state and foreign aid in the trillions of dollars over decades, well, you got to get women out into the salt mines if you're going to want a lot of salt. And this has come at enormous personal cost. Because what happens is women have this moment, and I've had so many women talk to me about this. I mean, they've had this moment where they just wake up and they say, okay, so I've spent the last 10 years going to an office. And now what?
Yeah, what do I have to show?
And, you know, they then wake up to what.
What does a man have to show for it? Like, what the fuck? Like, and I the other thing too is there are ways to combat some of the issues surrounding this, and it's really not hard at all. You can actually still have kids. You can have kids, and you can go for a career. It's entirely possible. As a woman, you can do this. I know because I helped make it happen for my family. I went and stayed home. And after my wife had her baby, I went and I stayed home, and I was watching the kid and taking care of the kid while I also, when she would get off of work, I would then go and I'd go to school. And so we were both improving ourselves. And it just so happened that now both of us are successful. Both of us have our own individual work. She actually has a really good fucking career. And I'm doing this, you know, but like I have success as well. Like, you can still do this, and society has adapted to a way that we can actually do it. It just means that if that's something that you want to do, you have to find a partner who's willing to work with you to help make it happen. And you can say, well, it might set you back quite a bit. Well, thankfully, we do live vastly longer lives these days than we did before. Strange, I know. But that is also another way in which this kind of balances itself out. But you guys don't like that. Because Taylor Swift is letting those beautiful, beautiful eggs go to waste.
Men have known all along, which is work is something you do. Most men don't have jobs that they love. Most men win the lottery, they quit their job, right? I mean, most men realize that work is just the kind of drudge that you have to do in order to experience the joys of family. And this has kind of been withheld for women, that you can have it all and be a power woman, and it's all going to be, you know, wonderful, exciting business trip to Taiwan and all. It's like, no, it's not. That's like 1% of 1% of people. Most jobs are kind of crappy and boring and repetitive and stressful, and there's politics and commutes and it's not that much fun. And yet they've glamorized this whole thing to the point where women are willing to not have the babies that make women the happiest in general, and men too. In order,
again, you don't understand happiness. You're making this up because you don't understand it, or you blissfully are ignoring the science behind what makes people happy. It's so fucking obvious. It's painfully obvious, and it's fucking gross. It's really, really fucking gross. I cannot emphasize enough how much neither of these morons understand the science of happiness, and how flimsy their entire worldview really is. Jesus. Ugh, this is disgusting. What the fuck, man?